This is Support is Sexy, episode 57 with Anita Belle, founder of AJB Events. Welcome to the Support is Sexy podcast. I'm your host, Elaine Fluker, entrepreneur, author, producer, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I talk to women entrepreneurs who share their journeys and the true stories of their wins and their lessons, and give you insight and inspiration to take your business and your life to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I am so happy to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. So today, our guest is Miss Anita Belle, and Anita is the founder of the events company called AJB Events, based in New Jersey. And Anita talks to us today about going from corporate America for many years, over a decade actually, and then making the transition to being an entrepreneur and owning her own business, always having that passion there, but waiting and taking her time to make that leap. So on this episode, Anita talks to us about the benefits of using college to figure out where your true passion lies. Also, some great tips for strategic networking. Everyone always says you have to network, but how should you really network? Like really, really network. Also, how to find the best networking events in your field and in your area. The power of partnerships and collaborations, which we all know is something that can be powerful. Why it's important to lead with intention and not expectation when you're networking, connecting with people, starting these collaborations and partnerships. Also, Anita tells us 3 things to know before launching your events business. So 3 things that she learned and what she would want someone to have told her before she started her business. Also, the value of mentors and a solid support network. Support is sexy. You know, we're all about it. So she talks a little bit about that. And also why you should be straightforward about needing help. Again, very much about support, being able to say, I need help with this, as opposed to beating around the bush or not asking at all. We're going to be straightforward about what we need, ask for it, and receive. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode with Anita. A lot of fun, great information. So without further ado, Anita Belle. So Anita, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. I have to ask you the first question I ask everyone. When did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
So I would say that I have always actually wanted to be a business owner. Even when I was younger, the field that I wanted to be in was just completely different. I wanted to open my own line of daycare centers when I was a kid. So entrepreneurship was always something that interested me, but how I landed on my current passion of event planning really happened just from being in the business for so long and realizing I can do this without a huge company behind me and actually set the path that I want to do.
Now, the daycare, was that because you loved kids, or what was it that drew you to wanting to open daycare centers?
It was. I've always loved kids. Even when I was younger, I'm the youngest in my family, so I had no kids around me. It was me, and then my older sister. So I always just loved kids, being around them, friends' kids. So I said, I want to open daycare centers because what's better than that? Like, they're with me all day, and then they get to go home to their parents.
Right.
And that was actually what I set on for a really long time. Even through high school, I was like, I'm going to open my own line of daycare centers. And then something switched in there.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Oh, you grew up in the Bronx. I used to live in the Bronx after college with my roommate April on 219th Street and White Plains Road.
Oh, I know where that was. I was on the other side of the Bronx, near like Westchester.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So,
Bronx girl. What was Anita like as a little girl other than loving kids?
Oh, what was I like? I was actually a tomboy. So I was not, I wasn't into sports, but I was into rough and tumble play. So I was out there hanging out with the boys as opposed to the girls, surprisingly. But then I was always really rough and really into like physical activities, but not sports. And I actually went the opposite way, very girly, and took a lot of dance classes. So it was very, there was always 2 sides to me. I was never in one group. I had a lot of different friend circles. there wasn't like a core group I had. It was a few people here, a few people there.
Hmm.
So really sociable. I like to be around people a lot.
It's funny that plays into the kind of business that you have now, of being around people, being social, and all the things that you have to do.
Yes, it
Who
does.
who were your greatest influences growing up?
Um, wow. I have to say that there were a few like teachers that really sort of set me in my ways of like just studying hard, thinking about the future, what you want to do, the goals you have. But then it was really my family. I'm very close to my family. And they were just always super supportive and whatever you want to do, you can do. You have to work hard. Like they just gave me really great values growing up. My aunt was extremely smart in sort of I don't know, what is it, like the analytical things. So
Hmm.
she was very like number crunching in business and this is how you have to do it. Where my sister is more of the creative type of like, does it look good? Does it feel good? What's the experience like? So I had a lot of juxtaposed positions in my life on a regular basis that helped me develop into sort of the little weird creature I am today that
A
all
little,
works.
I love that. I consider myself a little weird creature too.
I love it.
I love it. That's great. Now, where did you go to school? Did you go to school in New York or outside of New York?
So I did. I grew up, like I said, in the Bronx. I went to school my whole life there, and I actually had never been to other boroughs, like with my family, probably for like one-offs here and there. But I went to school in Brooklyn, which I went to a high school course for engineering
Mm,
and went out there and fell in love with it. Nobody in my family's an engineer. I didn't know anybody in Brooklyn. It was an experience. It was a 2 hour train ride to get there,
right.
and that was the first time I had ever really gone to Brooklyn. And I was like, oh, this is fun and it's exciting and it's brand new in my life. So I actually went to school for engineering at Polytechnic University, which is now owned by NYU.
Wow. So, did you think that engineering was the career that you were going to go into at that time, or?
Um, I did. I think part of it was because it was so different than anything I had been exposed to. It was a completely brand new world. So I was really excited and intrigued by it. But as I went to school, I realized that even though I have an aptitude for some of it and that I like the technical aspect of it, I could not imagine myself sitting behind a computer or a desk doing this day in and day out. Like the passion was not there for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, unfortunately, I realized that, well, unfortunate and fortunate. I think that's part of what college is for, is to figure out the things you love and the things you don't love.
Right.
I wish I had done it cheaper, but I really realized that I love the figuring things out and analyzing things, but the lack of creativity was like killing my soul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to describe it. It was
Right.
just, I couldn't imagine doing this day in and day out. I was like, I'm going to be a really unhappy person if this is what I do
But at least you
forever.
realized it. You realized this in college, you said, like
I
as you,
did.
yeah. Because sometimes for a lot of us, it takes going through having a job and being there for 5 years or something before you finally say this just is not working for me. It's killing my soul, as you said.
Yes. I am happy that I figured it out then. Like I said, could have been a lot cheaper to figure out.
Right.
And I went through a lot of iterations in college of, well, maybe, because I started as computer science. And then I said, well, maybe that's not for me. Maybe I'll do computer engineering. Maybe that's not for me. It was an engineering school, so I didn't have too many options of what I was going to
Right.
do.
It was
So
a
I,
specialized school.
exactly. I jumped around to a lot of different engineering disciplines, then to finish on technical communications, which is, sort of what their fluff degree is at an engineering school, basically. Not against anybody that has a technical communications degree, but
Right. Right.
that was the only thing that wasn't super technical at the college.
Did that offer you any opportunity for creativity, or was it just like you
No.
said that option? No. Okay.
No, it didn't. I mean, technical communications, what is the bridge between the people that are super technical and the layman and being able to decipher and make something attainable for the common person to understand. So it was still just super technical,
Right.
which wasn't for me.
So, what did you do after you graduated? Did you go into a field that was based on what you studied, or did you go a totally different direction?
No, I went completely different direction. When I was in college, because it was taking me a little bit longer to finish because I jumped around so much, I wound up getting a job in the restaurant industry as a manager. And through that, I learned about the restaurant industry so much. And that's how I actually found my passion for event planning through the restaurant industry because I moved into their events department. So it was really by chance. I was
Or
looking for a
not?
job or not exactly. If you
Right.
think about it, it put me in that position to say, okay, you've got these skills which are really great and you know how to analyze and you know how to like compartmentalize things. So let's see where else you can take it. And it really was an evolution in the job for me as well because I started out in one very particular role and was able to evolve into something completely different, which was amazing.
Do you think you were able to evolve because you were still sort of looking for that thing that sort of lights you up, as I say, so that when it became apparent to you, it was sort of like, okay, this is it?
Definitely. It was 100% that. I'm a very I like to stay at places a long time. I don't like to jump around in jobs. So
Uh,
I was there for like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years and just sort of evolved through the company. So being there, loving the people I was with and learning something new every day because I'm such a people person, which I didn't really think I was until people were like, "You are great with customers. You're great with employees. Like you just have a knack for it." So I just figured, okay, well, what else can I do in the company? Because it's a huge company and there's so many different avenues and I love the people here and the people love me. So what else can I do? And that's how I fell into the special events department at the company.
Interesting. Was there a moment that you knew when you were in the events department that you knew, okay, this is it? Like, was there an actual moment, or were you doing a certain event, or was it over time you started to see that you were good at this?
There was, I never really thought about it until you asked me, but there was one event. I was working for a restaurant. It's a big restaurant group in New York City, and
They have several
we
restaurants.
they do. So
Okay.
it's Be Our Guest Restaurant Group, and they've got a lot of different restaurants in the city, and they open some in different states. And there was an event at the restaurant I was working at, and it was a huge private event for a big network. And it was so exciting, not just because there were celebrities there and the place looked completely different and was transformed, but the buzz and the energy and having to figure everything out behind the scenes. And when there was an issue, nobody should know about it except for the people that are running the event to make sure it's smooth. That's how you know it's success. And we got phenomenal reviews about it. We got lots of press about it. And it was so exciting to be behind the scenes on that event and know all the hard work that went into it beforehand, not just the pretty pictures and the, great time that the guest had. That's probably when I knew events is what I need to do for life.
Now,
But that
how?
was a long time ago, actually.
Yeah, that was when you
Yeah,
were first when you first started at the. Well, you had been there for a while because you moved into this new department, as you said. But
correct.
how long was it before you decided from then that you would step out on your own, and what was that transition like?
Oh, that was probably year two into the restaurant industry,
Oh, very early
and
on.
it was very early. And it's taken me, I'm going to say, about 12 years to get to stepping out on my own. A lot of steps in between to get there. So I did events in other industries. It always sort of tied in. So I went to a company and I said, "Oh, I'll do the sales and marketing there for a travel company." Completely different industry, didn't know anything about it, was excited for a change, something new, and wound up doing events with the company. And it's been like that in every job I've gone to. Even if the job doesn't start out in the events industry, it always winds up to tie that in or be the final result. So the last place that I was there for um, about 8 years. So actually, it's probably been about 12 to 14 years since the restaurant group. I was there for about 8 years and I started out different field facility management, tied in the events. And while I was there, realized how much I loved learning about all these different events, things that I had never done before. And each time was something brand new. And I just was loving every day that I was doing events and dreading every day that I wasn't doing them. Even though I loved the company, I loved the job I was at, but I started to dislike it um, because I couldn't do what I really wanted to every day.
Right.
And at that point, I said, clearly, the universe has told me now, like I've had four different jobs. None of them have been special event jobs to start with. They always wind up there. So now it's time to, to make that move, whatever. And I didn't know making that move was necessarily going to be going out on my own. I thought maybe I'll join another special events company. Maybe I'll work for, a big production company. But the more I thought about it, the more it was kind of like, I have a vision and a unique voice, and I want to be able to tell my own story through what I'm doing.
I love that. Now, what was the first step that you took then once you decided to actually make that move, which is a big move after being at several companies for years and that kind of thing, and in an environment where you're, surrounded by a team? It's very different when you're speaking from experience, as a lot of us, when you step out,
Yes.
decide, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. Let's see how it goes. So what was your first step?
Um, well, my first step was talking about it with my husband because I wasn't going to have a paycheck coming in anymore. So
Right.
it was definitely like, okay, I'm thinking about doing this. And he was extremely supportive. He was really the impetus that made me leave my company. Um, and once I kind of got his blessing, so to speak, I just sort of took off. I gave notice at my job. I said, I'll get you through a certain period of time that I know is really busy, but I'd like to go part time until then. I went on Vistaprint and printed up some business cards in like 2 days,
I love
got my
it.
website up, and then just started like reaching out to people that I knew were already in the industry and said, this is what I plan on doing. Where do I start? Like, what are networking groups that you're in? What are organizations that you're in? Who are good people to start meeting? And I literally hit the ground running and was just, like out a couple times a week at networking events, making calls, setting up meetings just to like introduce myself and meet with people. And it was, yeah, that was it.
How important was that to do that, the networking part of it, and to be not even just to do it, because a lot of people do it, but to be strategic and focused on going to these events and making those connections? How important has that been to your business overall?
Oh my God, that's been the reason why I think I've been successful so far and am able to keep growing because the amount of people that I've met that see me on a continuous basis and that are interested in what I'm doing and talk to me and just say, okay, so I know you were busy busy last month. How are you doing this month? Or, hey, I saw you at the last event. Why don't we grab coffee one day so we can just like sit down and chit chat? Even people that, because in the events industry, it's so many people that are like, need sort of day of help or freelancers. I've made great connections and gotten a lot of experience that way also by people saying, I see how hard you're working. I see how dedicated you are. I have these, big things coming up and I'd like you to come on board and work with me. Or just being really cooperative.
And so
So
collaborating with other people has been important too.
extremely, it's people, I think in most businesses, but I can definitely say from the event side that it's so much about referrals and people need to see that you're a hard worker and believe in what you're saying. And once they see that, they'll vouch for you. And
Hmm.
that's almost 100%. You have to have some skill obviously behind it, but
Right.
having someone to vouch for you and say this person's a hard worker and they're like doing a tremendous job, that matters so much. And like you said, being strategic with how you're networking, not just going out and willy-nilly going to everything, because you could be out every night of the week and not making an impact.
That's such a
It's
good
about
point.
going and saying, who do I want to meet? So, like, for example, literally, and I'm sure in every industry, 4 nights out of the week, there could be an event that you go to. I can't go to all of them. I mean, number one, it's expensive. Number two, it's so time consuming. So I'm strategic with where is the event going to be? Do I know any of the people that are going to be there? Is it people that I really want to meet that are going to be there? Because so many lists are usually publicized of like on Eventbrite of who's going to be at an event or who signed up. So I try to go to the events that not where I necessarily am going to see the same people. I'll do a couple of those because I want to keep the relationship strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go to an event where I'm going to learn something new or I'm going to meet someone that I've been dying to meet and this is the perfect opportunity naturally to meet them.
How do you find the events that you decide? Well, you're an events person, so I'm sure you know about a lot of things already. But how do you do in the beginning, we should say, find events and different things that you wanted to go to? Was it through being on certain lists, or what's the best way for people who want to go to networking events that make sense for them to
I
find a
would
way?
say, I would say social media. Like I have definitely like Facebook and Instagram stalked some people and been like, oh, like they are really interesting or they're doing something that I really want to do or they're very elite in my industry. So I'll like literally just sort of be on Facebook and looking at events and see what people are going to. Like especially someone that I really admire that I may not know and that I haven't felt comfortable approaching yet. I'll
Mm-hmm.
see sort of events that they're going to that also make sense for me because I'm not going to go to, a black tie gala or something like that where I wouldn't feel comfortable because it won't be natural.
Right.
So you have to do a little light stalking, not real
Not
stalking,
real stalking.
not real stalking, not
Right.
promoting that, but you have to figure out to be in the place where other people are that you want to meet because then it's just going to be by happenstance that you run into them at this event that you also want to go to. And it gives you an insight of where are these other successful people in my industry going that I have no idea about. And then you get on a list or you meet someone that's on a board or producing the event, and then you're sort of in that circle. So you have to put yourself in the place for opportunities to happen.
Such good advice. I'm a big proponent of that too. You have to be in the space where things are happening in whatever way. And you might go to those events and not even meet the person that you were lightly stalking or what have you,
Yes.
but like you said, you see that it's a good event. It looks interesting to you. It makes sense. And then you go and you see other people there and make genuine connections.
Exactly. And that has definitely happened to me also, where I've gone to an event and I'm like, I have got to meet that person. I never even met them. Either they didn't show up or I never had the opportunity to naturally, sort of speak to them. But there's always been someone that I take away from an event, at least one person that I make like a real connection with and have, like a date with after a coffee, a lunch, a something of getting together again. So as long as you feel like every event you're taking some nugget of information away or some connection away, then it's good.
When you go to these events, do you have a certain goal? And I ask that because certain people, a goal meaning like I'm going to meet at least three people or something like that. I know some networkers, power networkers, as they say or call themselves, have that. Like you have to go in and walk away with at least three cards, or how do you do it? Or is it just natural, whoever you're drawn to?
It is, I have to say that it's just natural. I don't go in with an expectation. I go
Hmm.
in with, I want to meet new
You
people.
go in
And
with an
I don't,
intention, not an
not
expectation.
an, exactly. Because I want it to be natural. Like I've been to, and everyone has, you've been to networking events where people are just like pushy in your face. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced, where they're just like passing out business
Business
card like
cards.
hotcakes. You remember those people, but not necessarily for a good reason.
Hmm.
And I am fine with going to an event. And if I don't walk away with any business cards, but I've connected with people that I already know, or I've learned something from a speaker, I feel like that's successful.
Yeah.
Um, it's always great to make those new connections, and that's always a goal. But I don't want to be pushy. Like that's not my networking style. For other people, it may work and it's successful, but it's not my thing.
Hmm.
And networking is hard enough, like especially if you're going with no one and you don't sort of have your ace on your side, you just have to go in and sort of see where you fit in. And if you're trying to force it, you're going to be really unnatural and awkward and not get the whole purpose.
Right. Making genuine connections with people. I love
Absolutely.
that. So now your company is called AJB Events.
Yes.
And what kind of events do you guys do primarily? What's your focus? Well, how long have you had the company now first? And then what kind of events do you do?
Okay, so brand new company. We're not even a year
You're
old.
still a
Uh,
baby,
we are still a baby, infant stage. We're walking right now.
right? You're a toddler.
Exactly. And we primarily do social events, but in the last year, we've actually sort of expanded. When I started the company, I'm thinking social events. My focus is teen and kid events, so mitzvahs, sweet 16s, quinceañeras, milestone parties, things like that. And I started going to so many networking groups and meeting entrepreneurs. So that was another avenue that I've actually really found rewarding and lucrative. You know, entrepreneurs don't have a lot of money, so it's not lucrative in the monetary sense, but that I'm finding so many people that have amazing businesses, amazing ideas, amazing stories that I believe in and I want to succeed. So I'm finding ways to work with them so that it's beneficial to both of us in getting them out to the market and having their voice heard through events, a lot of, grand openings, networking events, look-sees. I'm working with some people that have either retail stores or designers that want to do some sort of show so that people know who they are and what their brand is. So that's been another avenue that I never thought was going to be there, which sort of presented itself to me.
And it sounds like that it's been events, not just people saying, oh, I'm having this birthday party, or even from an entrepreneur standpoint, I'm having this annual brunch that we always have. Can you do this event for me? It sounds like you're also using the event as a branding tool to help the entrepreneurs get out there more.
Yes, that's definitely how I'm using it. So it's not as much, it's me producing the events, obviously, but it's really the entrepreneurs and their companies that are shining through these to say, this is who I am, this is my brand, this is what I want to bring to the world and the community.
Do,
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. And then on the social event, it is more of people saying, yeah, my child is becoming a bar mitzvah and I need a party thrown, which is another, like I really love that aspect of it as well. It's two sides of, a different, the same coin, but definitely two different sides.
With the entrepreneurs, would you say that you go in and help them decide what the event should be, and help them shape what the event or what it could be?
Yes. So I'm definitely, someone will come to me and say, so I have this idea and can this happen? Does it make sense at this point in my business? Or what other things can I do to go into the market? For example, I'm working with Hudson Kitchen, Janaba Johnson Jones.
Yes, it
And
was a guest
yes,
on the show.
yes, she was. Fabulous woman. And she wants to really get into the food industry and into the market and is seen as a resource. So we're doing a lot of events and classes that show her not only as bringing the food industry together, but also as a resource for the food community. So people are feeling very comfortable going to her and saying, I have this issue. Can you help me solve it? I need a caterer. Can you help me solve it? Which is that was what her goal and mission is, and that's what the events are allowing her to fulfill.
How do you build your clientele? Because, like you said, you have that side of the business, the entrepreneurs, but then you have the other side, which is interesting that you've always been interested in kids. You have the other side that's helping kids celebrations, a lot of them. So, how do you build your clientele? Is that networking also, or is it other ways?
A lot of it has been networking. Since I'm still in the infancy stage, I haven't done any marketing or advertising. I've been lucky so far, but to sustain, business, that's definitely an avenue that I'm exploring now. Is strategically placing myself in the right places, either in print or media. And also going to the right networking events. So I'm going to a lot of networking events that are showcases for um, teen events. I'm going to a lot of small business networking, chamber events, things where people will see my value and be able to utilize my skills.
Awesome. Now, what would you say are three tips or three things, since you're in the early stages, that you wish you had known about creating an event planning company that you would want to share with people?
Ooh, there's so much. So I'm doing it alone, and for many people, that's what they want to do because their vision and how they see things is very pure for them and they don't want it to get muddled with other people's ideas and have someone else's opinion that they have to factor in. But doing it alone is really hard. So I would say you need to at least have a mentor, other people in the industry and outside of the industry that almost act as your advisory
Advisors,
board
yeah.
that are really kind of like you can go to and bounce ideas off of, and they only have your best interest in heart. And I would say it has to be a mix of people in your industry that you can trust, obviously, and people outside of your industry, because you're going to get the inside the industry, this is what we would do from a professional standpoint, and then what as a consumer or customer, this is how we would view you. Really important. And I have people I can talk to, and I've developed mentors and advisors, but it was something that I have gained along the way, not something that I started with. So I would say try to get that as soon as possible because that's invaluable.
It's so interesting. That's come up a couple of times in the past few interviews that I've done, people talking about a board of advisors or some kind of advisory group and how important that is.
It really is because you know how you know that you're good at what your business is, but running the business is a completely different animal. And it seems like it should be really easy and natural, but wrapping your head around that can be hard. So advisors, super helpful. Some other things. Learn about your craft. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Before you decide to go into it, learn about it and know, do I know basics? Do I know enough to serve people, not just in my one area, but if I want to expand? If someone comes to me and says, I know you do this one part, but I need a bigger part, can you do that? And some of it's going to be learning on the job, but having the education, because not being educated about your industry really devalues the entire industry and your company. And finally, let's see, another thing. Knowing your value, super difficult when you're starting out a company because and even now, I still find it. There's always two different sides to it. Some people are saying, well, you're new to having your own company, so you should not be positioning yourself the same as experienced planners or experienced companies, where other people say, you've got lots of knowledge, you've got great information, you've been doing this a really long time. So even though your company's new, you're not brand new.
Right.
So,
you have the years of experience. Those still count.
correct. Exactly. So, and what I've realized being in the industry and being new in new in the company aspect of it is lowering your value doesn't have people respect you more or utilize you more. It actually makes people question you.
Now, for value, do you mean price specifically or just?
Yes, price, but also knowing how good you are. I mean, don't let your star sort of be dulled. If you know that you're really a rock star at something, toot your own horn. It's okay. I mean, there's a difference between tooting your horn and being pompous. And people respect someone that says, yeah, I know that I do a really great job and I'm worth not only the price, but I'm worth the time, I'm worth the energy, and you're going to be enriched by having me as part of your experience, whatever that is in whatever field you are. People respect that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't go into it tooting their own horn enough. Personally, I know I'm guilty of it because you never, as an entrepreneur, you're uncertain. Your feet always feel like they're on unsteady ground. So you need to just sort of study yourself every once in a while and say, I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm valuable and I'm going to be successful.
That's awesome advice. Now, how do you check yourself in those instances and make sure that you're, as you said, tooting your own horn and being aware of how you're valuing yourself and presenting yourself to other people? Or do you have someone from the outside who helps check you?
I have people.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have people that help me and really not like they say, oh, like you're doing a great job. And it's really my mentors and, like my husband and my support system and my friends. when I'm sort of feeling bad and feeling down, they're like, you're doing a great job. Like, you're really good at what you're doing. And that helps me put it in check. So when they give me that sort of positive feedback, I'll take a minute and I'll just sort of sit back and think about all the things that I've done and how much I've accomplished. Even though my list can be, 10 pages long, I checked off one page of things, or I had a really amazing event. So having people around you is a big one. I'm very, I like to write things down. Even in a technology time, I've got a huge like binder and planner that I keep with me, and I write everything down. So that's another way that I put myself in check when I'm sort of having a lazy day. Like, I don't wake up until noon after I drop my kids off. I go back to bed and I feel horrible because I'm like, I've got so much to do. Like, I feel the worst ever. And then I sort of look at my planner and I'm like, okay, but I've done like 6 things yesterday that I thought I couldn't complete. I can take the morning off. It's okay.
And that's the thing, giving yourself those periods where you say, you know what, it's okay. I can get back
Yes.
into do this again. I can jump back into it. I did accomplish this. Looking at this, I always say celebrating the small wins. Looking
Oh
at
my
okay,
gosh,
yeah,
that's so true.
it's so important, right? It gets
It
you.
is because it's only you. Even if you have a team, the day to day is still only you as an entrepreneur. So there's always things to do. I mean, you could work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're still not going to do everything. So you're absolutely celebrating the small successes of knowing, okay, I did a bunch of things that I said I was going to do. I can give myself a couple hours to sit back and indulge in, whatever it is.
Right, exactly. Now, what does your support network look like? You mentioned that you have people that you use for different things, and I'm sure for your business and events, you hire people, but also your own support
Yes.
network.
So it's comprised of some friends from college, my engineering days, that have sort of seen my evolution and known my history and know what I was like as an engineer and what I'm like today as an event planner. I've got some friends in the events industry that can commiserate with when I said, oh my God, I had, an horrible day, or I had an amazing event, or this client is absolutely insane, that they're right there with me and they understand it. And they're like, I hear you. I get it. You'll get through it. Like, bounce ideas off of me. If they're crazy, call me after an event. And then I have some mentors in the industry, which it's nice that they're actually females that are doing what I'm doing and successful at it. Some of them, actually, a majority of them, have transitioned from other careers and other jobs and found event planning later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they are, some of them are planners, some of them are in the entertainment industry, some of them do strictly corporate. So it's like 3 or 4 people that I know I can go to as mentors at any point and say, I'm having an issue with this client. What do I do? I'm having an issue with pricing. What do I do? And literally a moment's notice, call them and they're there. So that's been probably the biggest thing, is having someone that I know I can trust their information and they have nothing but my success in their hopes when they talk to me. Because it's hard when you talk to other people in whatever your industry is. You always want to think that people are giving you the best advice and the best information for you. But unfortunately, not everyone has those same motives. So knowing who you can trust and who you can really confide in and tell all of your sort of deepest,
All the dirty
scares
secrets,
and
right?
fears and successes to is huge.
How did you go about finding mentors, that these people, especially like you said, that you can share things with, you feel comfortable with, and that kind of thing? How did you meet most of them? Are they people you already knew?
So all of them were brand new. I met them when I started networking. And only one person actually knows, because I tell her all the time that I see her as my mentor. The other ones don't really know that.
Mm-hmm.
They just always give me advice and always are honest with me and give me their true opinion. But the one woman that I definitely talk to as a mentor, and she sees me as a mentee. I met her at a networking event for an organization that I'm actually part of right now, and we just sort of clicked. She's another female entrepreneur, a minority woman who was excited that I wanted information from her and that she was not only there to help another woman, but to help another African American woman. That, there's in certain circles, I'm sure you'll find groups of people that are similar, but in the area that we're in and where we are, there's not a lot of African American women that are owning their own business. So she was excited to help someone out and that I was willing to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't
That's
coming
the
and sort of,
key.
saying, oh, so what do you think about XYZ? Like I was really saying, okay, I need help. Like I need advice. I want to know how I'm going to be you in 5 years and be successful and, taking the event industry by storm. And she's always been really generous with her information and knowledge, which has been also phenomenal. Like she's just sort of like a walking encyclopedia.
I love it. That's
It's
so
great.
awesome. That's great that you have that. You have someone like that. It's so important for us to find that and for people to know that, it takes time to find that person and you have to have the right connection. And then there might be other people, like you say, who don't have the title, quote unquote, title of mentor, but they're mentoring you and giving you advice. And then what you said too about not being afraid to ask and say, not being casual about it, like, hey, what do you think? Which is fine too. But
Correct.
I need help. This is what,
Exactly.
and people are like, okay, you'd be surprised how people show up when you say, I need help with this.
100%. I think that's part of it's scary to ask someone for help. You don't want to be rejected. You don't want people to say, oh, like you need help. Maybe you really don't know what you're doing. Where, you can't ask everybody for help, but when you start developing those relationships, okay, this person has this sort of generosity and they want to help someone else. And you find that and latch onto it because
Right.
it doesn't come easy.
And often it doesn't come easy or often. No,
Correct.
that's great. I love that. If
Yeah.
there's one thing you wish you knew about entrepreneurship or that someone would have told you before you got started, what would it be?
Oh, it's a hard one. I would say the biggest one is putting all of the pieces in place for your business before you start it. So things like, even though it seems a little cliche, like knowing how to incorporate, having insurance, having a business plan, having a marketing plan, but knowing that it's a loose plan, knowing that it's flexible. Because to be quite honest, when I started my company, I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a marketing plan. Those are things that I've been developing, which I don't think is a bad thing because you're going to change it and develop it over time.
Right.
But I think if I walked in the door with it, I may have had a clearer starting point and been more strategic right out of the gate, where I'm now falling into the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So really have everything lined up.
Like you said too, it can always change, but when you can at least, even for yourself, see it on paper or wherever, computer or whatever, but
Correct.
being able to see it and sort of map it out and then change it from there is a good thing to have as a starting point.
Exactly. You need to have, like I've always had the vision in my head. I always know what it is I want and where I want to go and what I want it to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, but not having a physical document to go back and look at and say, am I on target? Is this where I said I was going to be a year from now? Am I on target for 5 years? Do I need to adjust it? So that's sort of what I'm doing now, all wrapped into one, which makes it a little bit harder, but I'm a creative type and it's exciting. So I
Right.
welcome the challenge.
And you learn as you go. That's
You sure
awesome.
do.
What's the greatest lesson you would say having a business has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Um, I'm going to say that it's probably that I can do more than I thought I could. Um, as a woman, you always sort of feel like a superhero anyhow, because you've got to, juggle the work, the life, the sort of family, friends, like all your relationships. Not that men don't, but it feels different as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So starting my own business has definitely showed me, which is one of the things that I didn't do it because I have young kids. And it was, oh, I'll wait until they're older. I'll wait until they're older.
How old are they now?
They're 7 and 8.
Oh, yeah.
So older is, going to be years down the line. And at that point, who knows what position I'll be in, what place I'll be in. So knowing that I can still be a good wife and mother and have my own company and do these events and balance my time feels really good. And knowing that I don't have to be 100% at everything, because as a woman, you feel like, well, I need to be a great wife. I need to be a great mother. My career has to be really booming. Otherwise, I'm not successful. I'm okay right now with having things not 100%, but having all my hands in different pots
Hmm.
and knowing that I'm doing a good to great job at most of those things, even though it's not perfect. I'm good with. And as a woman, I embrace that because I am having it all right now. They
That's
say you
right.
can't, but you can.
Yeah, you can in different ways, in different, like you said, different percentages. This might be this percent.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Sometimes for kids it's 80%.
Right.
Other times it's 70 or 60%.
Right.
But that's when you have someone to balance it out,
Yeah.
which is
Awesome.
good.
So, what's next for you? What are you most excited about today? I know you have some events coming up. What else are you excited about?
So I am really excited I have a busy October coming up. I work with an organization in the city that plans the High Holy Day Jewish events for young people in their 20s and 30s. And we've got the high holidays are coming up, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we've got some really big events in 3 different boroughs that we're planning there. I also am on the horizons of sort of branching off another part of my company, which is a parent concierge division, so to speak. Division makes it sound so big.
That's okay.
I'm
Gotta
like,
think
there's two of
big.
us.
Gotta think big. Bring that in.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
putting that out into the universe. It is
Right.
a whole division, which is going to be sort of parents that are either by themselves, don't have a lot of family, or do have a lot of family, but want to really have their unique perspective on their child, their future children. So basically helping them with you need to have a registry together. You want to plan a baby shower. What is it going to look like when you bring the baby home? As far as, are you going to have any events for that? And hopefully following a majority of these families through their children's lives and with them. So planning a first birthday party for them, planning, sweet 16. So it's another aspect of what I love with kids and teenagers, and bringing that into the company in a unique way.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
What sparked that for you to decide to do something like that and set this new division that you have?
It comes from Judaism. I'm actually a Jewish woman, and I didn't know until I had my kids that you really should not have a baby shower before your children are born, because it's seen sort of as a bad luck, a bad premonition. So that happens once the child is already here. So for Jewish families, parents and grandparents are involved a lot, but for the people that don't have grandparents that are near, or grandparents that can be involved, they're sort of left to do it all by themselves. So seeing that and talking to friends, and seeing as a mother myself how stressful it was to get all of that together with a new baby, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why isn't there support out there for you beyond just a friend you can call, or a family member that wants to do it but can't always do it?
Right.
So seeing that, at least in Judaism, I know that there's a really large need for that, because 8 days after your baby boy is born, you're supposed to have a bris and have all these people attend and have this big party. Oh my gosh, the hormones that are going crazy in your body 8 days after, I can't even imagine that. So if that's happening in, Jewish families, I'm sure that that's happening across the board with other families. I've had friends that have to plan baby showers and they have a falling out with their best friend and something's happening, or the family doesn't want to plan the shower, or they don't see it the same way. So being able to support women and families that are in this critical time in their lives and really have it a time that they can celebrate and make joyous instead of being stressed out.
Stressful, right?
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's really good. So I have a couple last questions for you. You've been fantastic.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much for your time. You've been really great.
Excellent.
If you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one, Elaine. Put me on the spot.
Good.
Um, who would that be? Wow. I I'm actually going to say that it's probably my husband. Hasn't been in my life forever, been in my life for 10 years, but the last 10 years have been transformative for me. I've become who I am today. Who I was when he met me was very, very different than today. I'm much more centered, I'm much more focused. I've got a clear vision of who I am and what I want for my life. And he's been instrumental in that because of his drive and focus and determination. Um, it pushes me, it motivates me. Like we want to be, we want to be Barack and Michelle one day. We want to be that power couple. Like we want to be the people that are like, oh, look at the Bells. Like they're like doing amazing things and they're in their community and they're supporting people. So I would thank him and tell him that I love him and that he it really is my other half. I'm not going to say my better half, but he is my
Your
other
other
half.
half.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's great. Now, how can we support you? Tell us the website to go through for your events and all the social media and things that you want us to know about what's coming up for you.
Okay, so you can follow me at ajbevents.com and on my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it's AJB Events. On Twitter, it's AJB underscore events. But there is where you'll get updates and information, new events that I'm putting together, as well as pictures and highlights from past events that I've done. And
Awesome.
referrals are always amazing. Or just come and talk to me and say, I'm a new business and how do I take it to the next level? What do I do? It doesn't always have to be a huge cost.
Right. That's a great mention because, as you said earlier, I think it's so smart with working with entrepreneurs and helping them figure out what an event for their company might look like and what might make sense.
Exactly. And it's like I said, it's not always, people think, oh, I'm going to hire a planner. It's going to be thousands of dollars. Well, of course, we want thousands of dollars, but that's not always what it is. I mean, especially for me, I want to know that I'm helping someone succeed, and that's a benefit to me, and people are going to see that, and I'm going to put my passion and my love into whatever I'm doing.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much. This has
Excellent.
been fantastic. I really appreciate you. Is there any parting piece of advice that you have for our listeners before you go?
Oh, take the step. I would say that the biggest thing is take the step, even if you don't see the next step ahead, take it. It's going to be there. You won't fall.
Awesome. Anita, thank you so much.
Thanks, Elaine. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for having me. This was fabulous.
Oh, fantastic. Hold on just one second.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Support is Sexy podcast. And I do hope that you got some inspiration from it. And the challenge is for you to do at least one thing. Take one thing from the episode, at least one thing. You can always do more, but at least one thing that'll help you move one step closer to your dream. Whether that's launching a business, writing a book, whatever that thing is that you want to do, take something from this episode and move one step closer. And what I'll also ask of you, if you can tell me what you think about the episodes, what we've been doing, what you want to hear, what you like, what you experience while you're listening, go over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let me know what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about the show? What else can I do to be of service to you, which is what this is all about, to be of support to you. That's our buzzword, right? You can also go to our website, supportissexypodcast.com. That's supportissexypodcast.com. Hear more episodes there. Also have a bunch of great videos, tons of information. It's where I'm going to be spending a lot of time, and it's where I love to connect with you. So again, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you and your support. And the most important thing I want you to remember is having it all does not mean doing it all alone. So now, go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.